Beloved ones, another edition of part 2 of our previous edition. We thank you for your support, and we thank you for having watching the first edition. But most profoundly, we thank you for having chosen to come here at such times. We understand that there are many humans that have no idea, many, if not all humans, that have no idea whatsoever how much pampered they are, how much appreciated they are, and how significant of a piece they are in this transmutation that is currently happening on our world. This world as a chain, a continuity of a chain for which you have been experiencing is different from other celestial bodies for which you have been manifesting constantly and perpetually to experience and expand and seed and gobble necessary information that is in accordance to the blueprint for which each and every one of you grafted for yourselves. Why is this celestial body very different from other previous celestial bodies that you have experienced and expressed? Your infinitely proportioned energetic field is because this celestial body is the central focal point within this Milky Chandelier galaxy. It is the focal point for which is seated multiple, various different energetic frequencies from other galaxies, from all over this galaxy, and from within the multiverses. It's not done in other planets. It has never been done in other planetary systems. So this world is very precious and very different in how it has been evolutionized and modernized and amended, so to speak. So we appreciate your presence, and we very much honor and respect you, and we love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. On to the good news. On to the good news. The delicious and symphonically infested with genius of good news. First and foremost, we would like to just clear out some statement here that we made previously that pertains us by saying that there were many subpoenas, many indictments, and many arrests that were executed, by the very same rogue elements that have been influenced and associated with the old guard, call it the cabal, call it the Illuminati, call it the deep state, however you wish to refer this old dying system, to which is an old dying system that has been dying from its very inception, as I previously stated in my first edition, in our first edition. So what we meant by that when we said it came from the very same elements, you have to understand that there has been many individuals such as judges, lawyers, high-ranking officers and high-ranking individuals that are in command of the law enforcement that has come to be compromised, so to speak, because of the data that was shown to them, and now they have become double agents to work for the white hats, whilst at the same time staying in bondage with their dark affiliations. So they have been compromised, and when our emissary visited Saudi Arabia, after he left, major things happened. Major key players, millionaires and billionaires, and even as far as within the royal family, as you might have seen, or if you haven't, you can Google. I'm not speaking, beloved ones. We are not going to tell you things that are not even on Google, that are not even in the dishonest media outlets. It's out there. It's being recorded. It has been reported. If you Google, you will find. As you have known, after our emissary left Saudi Arabia, there were many arrests of billionaires and millionaires that are actually associated with the royal family, and it got into the previous prince of Saudi Arabia, and he was arrested and he was executed, unfortunately, because of the things that were found about him and because of the data prior to finding these things that he has been involved in and he has been doing. Data had already been collected by the military global alliance secretly for decades, as previously mentioned. So major key players were arrested, and the old guard system did not like that. And as the Saudi prince, the new Saudi prince, was actually initiated into this alliance now, to which this prince didn't like what the sibling brother was doing. So was initiated into this white hat operation, and he had to inform his father, the king, that there was a visitation from the United States of America president, and he came with a lot of information, and he has a lot of information even to an extent to your friends. So in a way, we have to publicly capitulate, and we have to take this deal that we are being handed and work for them now and start cleaning up what we have been doing here. Understand? So they had to capitulate, and a very beautiful and surprising thing that happened is that our emissary, when he visited Saudi Arabia, under the pretense that he's actually visiting the royal family to discuss the agreements of trade in oil and the agreements of innovation that can be exchanged with both the countries, under the pretense, you have to also understand that if you needed to perfect a great script and a great movie, you had to have also great actors. You also had to have a very grand and very well thought out strategic move of public opinions, optics, more to speak on that. You have to have a great imprint of optics that you would unleash, so to speak, to the public, so there wouldn't be any hindrance to the processes and progression that is being experienced by humans, so you wouldn't cause a lot of noise, so to speak. So they had to be good actors, and they had to be recruited by none other than the global military alliance. They are directors, they are script writers, they are graphic designers, they are costume designers, they are producers, actors, casters. That's why this operation has become to be known as a show, a movie in real time, because each and everything that is happening is exactly the same as how you see it in movies. Understand? People are being recruited. People are being compromised. People are being made to do things that they do not want to do because of the details and the data for which they have on them. Understand? So the compromising is different. Some of the people that are being compromised are compromised without even getting any deal. They have to do that before they are trialed in the tribunals of the military. And also you have to understand that there are also producers, which are generals of this global military alliance that are currently positioned around the world. They are positioned in many major cities. In many major cities. Why in many major cities? Is because those cities are mainly the channels and the focal points for which the oligarch has been distributing each and every nefarious things to gain profit for their pockets, as I previously mentioned. So there are many generals that are positioned around the world. Anyway, going back into the prince. Now the prince had warned the father, and the father agreed to actually capitulate in public, and they did a ceremonial ritual for which was only gifted and given to be celebrated among royals. There's never been a United States president that was actually invited into that ceremonial ritual. And one thing also you need to notice in this ceremonial ritual is that there was a signal that was depicted in public that gave an impression that somehow the military alliance had achieved what they came for in Saudi Arabia, where our emissary had been handed a sword to hold in public. That has never been done before by a United States president. He held the sword, but also, interestingly, there was an honor that was given to him, a highest honor that has never been given to a United States president before, that was handed to him by the king. You can search this on Google, you will see it. He was treated in a way that has never been seen before, being in a way a United States president has ever been treated in such a way before. It has never been seen. Even the dishonest media was very surprised and shocked as to how our emissary was being treated in each and every place that he visited to actually push for this operation to go forward. Because as we previously said, the thing that had to be established and had to be done before the military operation moves forward is they had to finish the clearance from behind the scenes first, then move forward. So they had to finish by making these Goliath countries to capitulate. And so Saudi Arabia capitulated, and the new prince was initiated into the alliance, and he had to go to Vegas for some exchange that he had to make, because when an incident happened, an incident that nearly got him assassinated, because the old guard was watching everything that our emissary was doing, and they didn't like it. But anyway, even if it was so, Saudi Arabia had already handed the keys to our emissary, unfortunately. So the oil was already handed to our emissary, and many of the major key players that have been doing various things, such as the involvement of sex trafficking, human trafficking, children being trafficked, under the guise of helping humanitarian aid organizations such as UNICEF, United Nations, etc. All these so-called humanitarian organizations, they report each and every data was archived and was shown to them, and so they had to capitulate, and so they had to execute by bringing about subpoenas, indictments, and arrests. So when he nearly got assassinated, he was actually, quite frankly, unfortunately, rescued by the military, because the military had got a signal that there was something that's going to happen to the prince, and so they moved 10 steps ahead of the old guard and they rescued him. And if you notice, when he was actually requested after that incident into the White House, he didn't enter the White House at the front door. Why is that so? But eventually was seen inside already at the White House. He didn't enter the White House as traditionally known to be when a foreign leader actually visits the White House. Why he had to enter the White House on another panel of the door entrance. So when he was sent to Vegas, he was actually sent, because now he had already been initiated, he was sent to Vegas to actually be, you could say, an errand of the alliance. Because what he had been constantly telling our emissary is that he wanted to do just, and he kept on saying anything, I will do anything, my brother, I will do anything, because he was very thankful that they had rescued him and they had dissolved the assassination attempt. He was just constantly saying anything, I will do anything, my brother. And so he was sent to Vegas to start off a foundation where he would fly to each and every big tech CEO and tell them that I have been sent by BJT and the Military Global Alliance, which also comprise of Russia, China. Yes, China is also on the bandwagon. You see, understand this, beloved ones. If you want to make a perfect movie, you always have to also have that sprinkle of optics, public opinion. Keep the public glued, keep the public searching, keep the public curious, and keep the public as calm as possible. Understand? And keep, in this case of this movie that is being played in real time, keep your enemies at bay and keep your enemies docile, as we previously mentioned. Do not allow your enemy know each and every move that you make. Make your enemy think that their minions are still on their side, but not knowing that their minions have already been compromised or have chosen to come forward and be part of this cleansing of the world. So Xi of China is actually on the bandwagon, has been on the bandwagon since the very inception, silently and secretly. So when the Prince of Saudi Arabia went to each and every big tech CEO, Google, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, he came, as previously mentioned. He showed them all the evidence for which has been collected, for which has been archived, and he told them, you are on team DJT, and the Global Military Alliance, or we expose each and everything that you have been doing. Because you also have to understand, beloved ones, that these big tech CEOs, these giants, actually do not own anything of their company. Their company is owned by the old guard. They are just the image. And you also have to understand the involvement of cloning individuals. So in other words, there are many big tech CEOs that are not actually the original version of themselves. They have been cloned, and some of them, unfortunately, have been chipped. It's unfortunate. However, that didn't stop for the operation to move forward. Now comes the compromising of each and every minion possible that has a great stronghold in this chain and in this system. So they had to go to big tech. They had to go to major politicians around the world. And the people that were actually sent to these politicians and big tech are the very same people for which their countries had been made to conform to the new ideal of an operation. And some of the people that were compromised from the end of the dark hats were made to continue with their nefarious activities so that their masters would not know what was coming, and so that they would be kept out of the picture of something happening, and out of the picture that they have been compromised by a military operation that has the notion and the emphasis of actually saving the world. Understand? A military operation that is very genius to its core, as we previously mentioned, that has been planted 50 to 60 years ago. Understand? So the Saudi prince had done his mission. Now moving to Israel, where the embassy was moved to Jerusalem to recognize Jerusalem as the capital city of Israel. That has never been done before. And when our emissary did say that in his 2016 campaign, people were thinking that he was joking, just like how the people were thinking that he's just making a reality statement when he was actually running for presidency. He's just playing. He likes to publicly make stunts. He likes to publicly, seed for opportunities to get a new reality. That's what people were thinking, but they didn't have an idea of what he was part of, as we previously mentioned. So when he went to Israel, Israel was barking at him. They were barking, the politicians, the minions of the old guard, they were barking at him. He showed them everything. He told them, it's either you sign or I am exposing everything. They kept on barking and barking and barking and barking, and he showed them the papers for which they need to sign. And that's why he had to stay a day longer, because they didn't want to capitulate. He couldn't leave before they capitulate. They signed the papers. And so they signed the papers. And right after they signed the papers, what happened in Israel? Many executions, many arrests. And there people think that this operation doesn't exist. And I'll tell you why you think it doesn't exist. It's because of the influence and the programming and the indoctrination from the dishonest media. To which it's the only standing now as we speak narrator of a system that is already dissolved. So Israel was successful, and then he went to the Vatican. Interesting, the Vatican is known to be the central piece of the Holy Trinity. I do not even know why I say the Holy Trinity, but let's just say it's the component for which is the center of the Trinity, because we have to understand that the Vatican is the church, London is the financial system, and Washington DC is the military system, the the Trinity, for which they have been feeding upon, for which they have been profiting upon. These people have been profiting from human trafficking, from child trafficking, from drug trafficking, from rigging the systems of trade, from wars. They have been profiting from all things that are illegal, and therefore their system from its very inception is unlawful and illegal. It shouldn't even be existing. Well, it's crumbling before our eyes, isn't it? Right now as we speak. And hasn't the Q board been hinting this for years now, that it's going to crumble at some point, and you will watch a movie in real time? How is the ride currently? So Israel was done, and now we had to go to the Vatican, because the Vatican, as it's known, it's the church. But the most interesting part, when the Vatican got an opportunity, they got a lot of funds. They had a lot of financial gain previous years and previous decades. So what they did is they took that opportunity and they established a bank. And when they established a bank, they merged with the banks of England, which were owned by the very same families that you already know, whether it be the Rockefellers, the Werbers, the Rothschild, etc. They merged with them and they established what? The Federal Reserve Bank. The Federal Reserve Bank is owned by a faction within the Vatican, which is the Catholic Church. So if our emissary made the Vatican to conform, it was done. Because if our emissary made the Vatican to give the keys to him, the financial flows of the globe means that it would have been checked by him. And you guess that didn't happen? Of course it did. When he came into the Vatican, he did the very same thing he did with Saudi Arabia. He did the very same thing he did with Israel. He showed them the cases, he showed them the data, and he told them, either you capitulate or I reveal it all. And as he was showing this data to them, he kept on hinting to the Pope, why are you at it? Why don't you wear your red shoes? Just wear your red shoes. Just why are you at it? As you look at this evidence that we have on you, wear your red shoes. And what is the significance of red shoes? Go and Google. He kept on poking him. Well, take your time. Take your time. I'll be back. But while you're at it, wear your shoes. Those red shoes, yes, wear them. And look at the evidence and the data. You can even see the reaction, the displeased reaction that the Pope had. Look at the Pope's past photos where he was captured with world leaders. He seems to be very calm and very happy and very expressive with other leaders. Whether you see him with Obama, or whether you see him with Clinton, whether you see him with Merkel, all world leaders, he seems to be joyous and he seems to be laughing and smiling, expressing a notion of joy for having met these leaders. Also, you need to understand that these very leaders are also the minions. They were, should I say, the minions of the old God. So when they met, it was under the pretense that they are actually meeting for something that is of beneficiary for the world. Let us speak about the economy. Let us speak about climate change. Let us speak about the development of education around the world and in how it's going to be sponsored. Let us speak about the humanitarian fundings of major corporations and major companies. They were actually speaking about human sex trafficking children, illegally stealing from people around the world, etc., under the pretense in the public eye. And the very same thing is being played towards them by the military operation. And the very same thing is being played out to keep things calm. Because we do not want to see any rise of civil wars around the world. We do not want to see the economy crash in a way that it leaves people into a depression that has never been seen before on earth. So that's why this thing had to be very quiet and it had to be done quickly behind the scenes. Imagine if this had to be done publicly. Imagine the properties that would have been damaged of private citizens, as we mentioned before in our first edition. Imagine the economy crashing and leaving each and every citizen of a nation poor. Yes, even billionaires and millionaires, they would be affected tremendously. So the transference from an old system into a new and prosperous and influenced by tectonic quantum systems, which cannot be hacked, by the way, had to be silenced, and it had to be in the most calmness of place. So there would be a preclusion of such things happening. And so when our emissary did the Vatican trip, it was over. He was given the keys, which means he fact-checked each and every flow of the financial system everywhere in the world. Beloved ones, when we emphasize on Instagram or on Facebook or on WhatsApp that our emissary is the president of the world, we're just not merely saying that according to the energetic frequencies that he chose to incarnate and play out. We also mean that he's literally the fact checker of the world. And everything that is being played out right now, where you currently have been seeing some of the elements at Wall Street crumbling, it's based on this optic of public opinion, and it's based on the control that is being held by the global military operation. You understand? So it was done on Vatican, and he had to move. Where? To China. And China played its role too, and he had to move to Britain, where he made the Queen capitulate. And now he had to go to the den of the dragon, the den of the lion, which is Sweden, Davos. And he made them capitulate. Mind you, when he visited Davos, George Soros was present. And still he didn't yield. He didn't show any sign of yielding, because he was part of a very grand and strategic blueprint of a global military alliance that has been seeded for over 60 years, that was also influenced by the Galactic Federation of Peaceful Worlds. So in other words, this mission was not just to dismantle this old God only in America. It was to go to the Goliaths of the world and show them each and every data that has been collected about them for the past decades, for the past centuries. Because we have to also go back into thousands and thousands of years ago. The influence that this old God has had on this world is tremendous, atrocious, and nefarious to the core. Understand? So he was done with all the Goliaths, and now each and everything that is playing out right now is necessary. It is necessary, one, to wake up humans that are still asleep. Two, it had to go this way, because if it had to go the other way, which is a coup, our emissary would have been painted with a very, very bad paint, and the public would have hated him for it. It would have crashed the economy. It would have made civilians to fight amongst each other, thus destroying themselves. This is the very important thing that is very prevented even from the Galactic Federation. This is the thing that many of the non-terrestrial beings have always cautiously looked at, to not influence too much that it leads to a distraction of the very same beings that you want to assist and help and guide into a prosperous future. Understand? So everything that is playing out right now is necessary for it to play, and it has a reason for it to be slow, to red pill the humans globally. Look at how we managed the pandemic. Look at how we managed to be 10 steps ahead of the vaccination. Look at how we distributed out the vaccines. And people were like, oh, now it's for the vaccines. That means it's for the agenda of the deep states. No, it's all optics, public opinion, at the same time exposing the companies for which were long compromised, and they knew that they had to do that. They have no choice. They are forced to do that. They know they have been compromised. They know they have been showing data of things that they have been doing for years. So it's all optics. As we said before, what is the best way to have a perfect movie, an irrefutable perfect movie that will garner multiple awards from within multiple nominations? Best actors. Recruit best actors. And in this case, the actors are these giant global conglomerates, these giant global organizations, whether it be organizations within the corporate financial system, humanitarian system, education system, health system, trade system. They have all been exposed by now. Have you been looking around? They have all been exposed by now. Have you been noticing? It's all been optics. Have you been noticing? The global military alliance is 10 steps, 20 steps ahead of the old guard. Have you been noticing that some of the major, key, fundamental, profitable platforms of the old guard has been seized by the military operation? Have you been noticing that there are some celebrities that have been acting weird since 2016? What is happening? Even, I want to add this also, even from the visitations of the World and publicly renowned individuals that were actually requested into the New York City Tower, for which we mentioned in our first editions. Many of them are actually anchors of the major news outlets that have already been compromised. Actors to make a best movie. Many of them know already that the military global alliance has already won, is already in full control of the world. Interesting. And another interesting thing is that there has been rumors that the Florida Mar-a-Lago resort of our emissary is to be the new capital, the new White House. The potentials are very strong as we observe energetically. That could be the new White House. But the interesting part of the place is that it was purchased by a renowned family that is known to distribute cereals, but later was left to I forget her name, but if you search the Post family that owned a cereal company, you will see the lady that was left this place. And to your surprise, when our emissary bought the place in 1985, prior to that, it was given to the government. And prior to that, the heiress that was left this property had called this property the Winter White House. And this place stretches 17 acres. That's the number again. That's that number again. And when the heiress, I just forget her name, Mary Winter Post, but her first name I forget it. When she departed from this side of things, before she departed, she had handed that place to the government, and the government at that time was under the administration of Carter, and Carter wanted to be rid of it. But later, after being given this property in 85, our emissary purchased it. Do you see the connection? Winter White House, 17 acres. And also understand that whenever you see the numbers that are corresponding with the current events, always pay attention. I mean, I have been getting the number 17. By now, it's over and beyond overwhelming. The number 17 has been popping up there and there and there and there for me. It's overwhelmingly beyond by now. Popping up on the clock, popping up on the time for which a person has posted their post, popping up the time for which a person has seen my post, my status, popping up as a number that is presented in an ad. Pay attention to those things. They connect you to the confluence for which is encompassing this current transmutation, because we also have to understand that the current transmutation is very deepened to quantum drive, and quantum drive is deepened to your soul, and your soul is deepened to your intuition, and your intuition is deepened to your heart, and your heart is deepened to truth and love. So in other words, when you are actually given the number 17, or a number that is actually connected to the global military alliance, or any other number that you have encountered on the board of Q, You are being told, keep at that. You are being told, stay the course. It's near the end, and it's near the end, beloved ones. It's a precious time to be alive. But I will leave you also by saying, emphasizing by saying again, there's a bigger plan than the plan of the global military alliance. And you are part of it, and you are creating it, mobilizing it. Beautiful creatures, beautiful masters, understand that you will be here when the time of graduation comes. You will be here when this world graduates. When this world crosses over. We love you so much. Keep at the lane. Stay the course. Relax. We are not done yet. This is just the beginning. A beginning to a new realm of activities. And to additionally add, when we said Xi of China has always been an advocate for the military operation, remember that he had visited Mar-a-Lago, Florida. Search, you will see on Google. So in other words, all the things that has been playing out and all the things that he pretends to do from China has all been optics to confuse the remains of the old guard. She has always been wanting to eradicate the whole system too. It just so happened that at the right time, DJT came through. DJT came to be. There's no more bad and good. It's just all optics to wake you up and to see of all the organizations and all other systems that are affiliated with the dying out old guard, what they have been doing to you. It's all done. It's just that now it's about to awake you, and it is based on waking you up. When you want to uplift and when you want to bring about an awakening, a reawakening of the divine human souls, at times the best medicine is exposure. Show them everything, whilst at the same time moving behind the scenes. Give them the impression that somehow you have lost and you are weak. In this case, the old guard. So that you can unexpectedly strike right at the divine timing, just like how God brings about change, not from the plans of man, but from the plans of divinity and the confluence of the expansion of the flow of creation and existence. Blessings. Namaste.